It's officially a Toronto FC game week tomorrow. The new season is upon us after a crazy offseason that saw coaching change, player controversy, outbreaks, move to Florida, so much more. But what a way to start on the road against the defending Liga MX champions in the Concacaf Champions League. We'll get you set for Toronto FC versus Club Leon on Waking the Red Weekly, presented by Footy Talks this week. My name is Mitchell Tierney. And this week on the show, we also have kit expert, gentleman, scholar, vocal minority host, Mark Hinkley will join us in not too long to break down the best and worst from the MLS laundry pile this season. But first, boys, Jeffrey Pineski, Michael Singh, temperature check. I mean, it's game week. How are you guys feeling?
Finally.
It's here. Yep.
Finally. I mean, we've been talking about this for so long, trying to say, finally, we're going to have games coming. We were looking forward to that Canadian Championship match. Obviously, that didn't happen. But, boys, here we are. The lads are in Mexico. They're there. And we're one sleep away from a Toronto FC game day.
Yeah, Will Dunn says in the comments, nerves are already kicking in, and I think that's fair enough. I mean, it's going to be a tough test. That is for certain. I mean, I was thinking today, like, no Toronto FC manager has ever started with even close to as tough a test as Chris Armas was. We thought he'd get that game against Forge to, maybe ease him in, have that opportunity to win a Canadian championship in his first game, but no dice. He's going to have to step on the field at Leon Stadium against one of the toughest teams on the continent. So that's going to be quite the start for him.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get, I guess, any easier than that. He did win that game, technically, though. I guess not win, but he put TFC through. I mean, he's just the winner, right? Armas just wins. So let's see if he can keep that going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Michael, you wanted to start the show this week talking about something that transpired on social medias, which One Soccer were discussing comments from Taylor Twellman saying that the United States missing out on the Olympic Games was embarrassing, just to paraphrase. And Toronto FC striker Josie Altidore did not like that very much and had some choice words for the pundit.
Yeah. Let me preface this by saying that these conversations are never really the easiest. They're also always a little bit awkward. But it's important that we do have these sort of conversations. And now I'm not really interested in the Taylor Twellman Josie Altidore feud, because to me that comes off a little bit petty. Obviously there's some feelings there from Josie towards Twellman, obviously stepping back to comments back in 2018. But what I did want to focus on was sort of the underlying issue that Josie Altidore brought up, and that's the issue of representation and realistically the lack thereof that is not only prevalent throughout MLS, but prevalent throughout our entire society. If you look at the people who are in power, they're typically white males. And, we look around MLS, you look around Major League Soccer, and look at the amount of executives that are people of color. Look at the amount of GMs that are people of color. There's clearly an issue in terms of lack of representation throughout society. And if you take a look at Josie Altidore's comments, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Just look at the replies to what Josie Altidore tweeted out and the response that he received. Now, a lot of people are saying that Taylor Twellman sort of took the high ground. And, when he tweeted out Josie Altidore's charity. But Josie Altidore's response was kind of candid in that you can't just throw money at a problem and make it go away. That's not the solution here in today's society. We need to acknowledge these issues. We need to address these issues, and we need to consistently have these conversations about these issues, because it's not stopping. It just, again, I'll go back to the replies in Josie Altidore's comments there. It's still very much a problem in today's society. And Josie Altidore is bringing light to that issue in a fashion that he knows best, and that's stirring the pot. And hey, sometimes, it rubs some people the wrong way, the way he does go about these conversations. But the fact that he is bringing up these conversations, the fact that we can now have these conversations on our message boards, on Waking the Red's comment threads, even on our social media platforms, I think that's what's really important here. So I just wanted to start the show off about bringing light to that. And Josie is our king, so let's get behind him. Let's support him.
Absolutely. Well said, Mike. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think we all agree with all of that, and certainly, are fully behind, improving the game, making it more open for everyone, and I think Josie expressed that sentiment very well on Twitter. Let's bring on our guest here. He's raring to go. You love to see that. Right out of the start here. Talk some Concacaf Champions League as well as Kit Week with Mark Hinkley. How you doing,
How
Mark?
are you guys doing?
Very, very good.
Hey, Mark.
What's going on?
I'm trying to see in the background there. He's got a nice selection of kits. It looks like a vintage Marseille kit, I want to say, on the
That is
far
correct.
left. Obviously,
that was
Toronto
it.
FC.
That was a
Championship kit.
serendipitous reissue I managed to get my hands on. Unfortunately, I don't have a time machine, so I couldn't go get it. But they came out with one about I don't know 4 or 5 years ago, and I managed to snag that. So, but yeah, and then there's the championship kit, which I dubbed the Vazquez kit, and over here is a recent acquisition of Dia de Muertes kit from Mexican side Querétaro. I know I killed that name.
Oh,
but yeah, it's purple. It's got the skulls all through it, like stripes. It's art. This one is definitely art.
Mark, we don't like Mexican size on this show right now.
We do like ones where the shirt sponsor.
I assure you, it's fine.
We do like ones, however, where the shirt sponsor is double caliente because it's not caliente enough.
Oh, yeah.
That is fantastic.
If it wasn't caliente enough,
they got to remind you. I think we're going to start with some CCL talk, Mark, and then ease into a distillation of our second annual article, which you can find on the site, where in 15,000 words we break down all of the MLS kits for the year.
It was a fun edit. Which
is crazy because we were trying to be brief and we couldn't.
Oh yeah,
that's not how it works.
Oh yeah,
as we all know.
Down.
Mark Hinkley and Vocal Minority known for their brevity, so
yeah. We keep it short, book some time.
But yeah, let's talk about this game tomorrow, because obviously a massive one and a big test for Toronto FC. And I think the most interesting thing for almost all of us is what the heck is this team going to look like? I mean, we've heard Michael Bradley might be playing an advanced role. We haven't seen proper Josie in probably a year now, and there's the questions about what style Toronto FC is playing. So going into tomorrow, Mark, which player are you kind of most interested to see what they look like to start this season cold?
Oh man, that is a heck of a question. Josie, while Josie is quite interesting, I'm interested in seeing what Mr. Jonathan Osorio is going to look like. I kind of felt like in last season, we've seen what greatness looks like out of that guy, and he kind of like he was good. He was a performer, but he wasn't like it's. I don't want to say he plateaued. I do not want to say that, but it seemed like we took a rest up the mountain. Okay, and maybe that was injuries, new acquisitions. There could be any number of reasons as to why he kind of like fell into the shadows. New coach, new style. And as somebody you could literally set your watch to, as far as showing up, being a big game player, being a very clinical cog in the machine. I did not mean for the alliteration, but it just happened.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I want to see how he factors in this side most. I want, because I feel like if there's a change for the better, he's going to be the beneficiary first. I'm sure others will definitely see better of, but I miss what he brings, in the sense of that. Oh, you slept on him, and now we're up a goal. You slept on him, now we're up 2 goals. I miss that.
I hate to come in and burst your bubble here, Mark, but I actually don't know if we see Jonathan Osorio tomorrow.
Wow.
He picked up a knock to he missed the Canadian men's national team camp.
Of course
he did. I think he's one. Oh, by the way, nice kit. But he is one of those players that I believe Armas is holding close to his vest, but he is one of those players that I believe won't be involved in tomorrow's game. Perhaps we may see him a little bit off the bench, but he won't be the same Osorio that we're used to.
That's fair.
So with that being said, who's your next answer, Mark? No, I'm kidding.
Then it's Josie out the door. Honestly,
Josie? Yeah, of course.
I feel like with Josie, he's always after an absence. There's a bit of need to prove something. Now, whether that's we need him to prove something to us, he needs to prove it to himself. With his personality and his pay grade and his ability to be absolutely explosive, you never know which one we're getting. So I'm always excited to see what Josie's got to do, and I just this is a cruel first step. It really is. We're going to go right into a knockout situation. 2 legs. Is it 2 legs? It's 2 legs.
2 legs.
Yeah.
It's 2 legs.
two legs against a team that is, last I checked, 30 games into a season. 30 games into Apertura and Clausura. So it's cruel.
It's very cruel. I mean, at least we can point to that. I mean, Bill Manning was on our show recently, and he said Josie looks motivated. And I mean, on Twitter, as we talked about, he's definitely motivated to, go out there and make a difference. And, he has something to play for with the U.S. men's national team and all of their upcoming games. So, hey, let's hit the reset button perhaps here on Josie, because I know some TFC fans are a little bit harsh on him. But before 2020, I mean, he was in fine form if he could stay healthy. So far so good on that note. Let's knock on wood, and hopefully Josie Altidore does stay healthy and we get to see Josie return to the beast that he can be.
100%. Yeah. Mike, you got a question?
Yeah, for sure. Mark, we love talking about the young guns on this show. What young gun are you expecting to sort of get out there and perhaps make a difference tomorrow? Is there any young gun you're keeping your eye on?
It's tough because I don't want to hedge my excitement levels. I look at a guy like Schaffelberg who looked like he was going to, at least cement himself as a guy we're going to see on the regular, and then pushed away.
Yeah.
I because I know there's an emphasis on the kids. I there's a ton of interesting players that are in the academy that I feel that they just need their opportunity. Now, is tomorrow their opportunity? Cruel, but hey, if you don't want to get wet, right? So I'm gonna go with Schaffelberg only because he's a known quantity. I don't know if he's injured. I hate to see that. I'm only picking injured.
No.
Because I love the taste of foot in my mouth because it's delicious.
Yeah.
I have such optimism for this entire season because of the push for kids to play. I've wanted that for a while. It seems like we've got a lot of guys who are just need the experience. So so many to pick from. I want them all. Honestly, I want them all to get a fair shot. And I'm not saying that is it, but I've also wanted that for the past 5-6 seasons.
Right.
I've wanted that since they had an academy. And yeah, some got a chance, some weren't ready for prime time, some were. But I feel like there was entire teams worth of kids in that academy that never got a crack just because. And I mean, you're not going to just show up and no one's telling Michael Bradley, you're taking the night off for this green kid.
Right.
So I don't know. I want to see the guys that I have hope for, that I've seen something from already. I want them to be the ones that shine. I want everyone else to shine, but that's kind of what I'm eyeing.
Jacob Schaffelberg is a great shout. I mean, we saw the cross that he whipped in there to Patrick Mullins in against the Columbus Crew in that preseason match. Obviously, the very limited game tape that we've gotten so far, but hey, that looked really nice. He also had a really nice shot in the highlight package they tweeted out, and he looked good in Canada's January camp. And not only that, Chris Armas has talked about Jacob Schaffelberg, and he said that Jacob Schaffelberg looks more confident this season. We've talked about this on our show in the past, but Greg Vanney challenged him to, instead of going down the line all the time, to cut more inside. And, perhaps we see that at a Shaft this year. I think he's 21 this year, so it will be a big year for him. He had some hamstring injuries last season, and hey, if anyone could break out this season, let's not bet against Shaft, right?
Yeah, never.
I think Toronto FC is going to have to play like a very counter-attacking game here too against Lyon. So Schaffelberg's one of those guys with what he brings pace-wise and directness-wise, where he has that ability to get in behind, and I think that could be massive. So I think that's a great shout. I think Shaft's potentially a player we're going to see in some capacity tomorrow.
Have you guys seen the flow too?
Oh yeah,
great.
That adds a couple extra points to his overall rating. For sure. That's
indeed
great. Shuffle flow. Let's do it.
Shuffle flow. So Marcus, I've been keeping a list of things that make me happy and or sad, and I wonder if
it's going to be a long list. I know you. That's a long list.
So Club Lyon have shipped 17 goals in the last 13 games. They did win the Apertura, but they're currently sitting at 8th in the Clausura.
Yes.
So are they having a hangover, a championship hangover that we might exploit, or does it not matter a tick because we are 6,000 feet above sea level and that's the deciding factor here?
Yeah, I feel like there are so many things going against them. In addition to time, in addition to sea level, in addition to like just level of game experience, in the sense of like they're 30 games in, they've won their last 3. So like that's like anytime I've tried to find a silver lining, I just realized that the cloud is just much bigger than I expected, and I like there's also a puncher's chance, right? I kind of felt like in the great magical run of years gone by, that in some of those cases it was a puncher's chance and Toronto won. And there's nothing, and that's not to diminish an incredibly talented side. But they were also going up against incredibly talented sides. So because we haven't seen what Toronto looks like in a competitive match, because there's been a change at the coaching level. There's so many variables at play. It doesn't look good. If I had to put down one whole Canadian dollar of currency on a bet, I don't know if the long shot is risky enough. I'll just take my $1.15 or whatever the payout is for a Lyon win. And that's not because I don't think Toronto can beat them. I absolutely do think they have the ability to take out any team in this competition. Mm-hmm. Sight unseen, because I know the talent's there, I know the experience is there, and I know the heart is there. So what does that look like now? What does that look like now under these conditions? What does that look like now under these conditions with a team that plays 6,000 feet in the air, which a team that's won a championship, which is 3 games on a 3-game winning streak? Like, it's hard. It's very hard. Mm-hmm. So,
but if we win, it's a legendary story. That's for sure.
Of course, that's one more that we can add. Like, we're collecting Liga MX heads.
Skulls.
A wonderful set of heads. Like, you got all the good ones at this point.
You have them on your jersey that you just bought. So there you go.
This
Very
one
nice.
Anyway,
America.
Yeah. It's double caliente, buddy. Double caliente. Anyway, let's move on. Let's tackle let's show them our kits. So for context, here is you got to hit the site. We've written in detail about every kit, but
every
what
kit.
we're going to do, every kit. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring our favorites and our least favorites to Mitch and Mike and see if they agree or disagree. I suppose, Mark, you can go first because your favorite you're going to talk about, the Homer choice, which is
it's Toronto FC, and that I'll be perfectly honest with you, that isn't a bias as much as it is just a really nice kit. I kind of feel like with a lot of the offerings from Adidas for MLS, there's a lot of try hard. There's a lot of, we're going to like this is going to have so much meaning and this is going to resonate. And it's like, yo, just make a nice shirt. Just make something interesting. Make something interesting that my $150 for this shirt that is fashionable for 2 whole seasons I won't have a lot of regrets with the purchase. Like the last offering was about as plain and ordinary and dull as I think you can possibly get. This is like night and day. I love the detailing on it. I love that the Onyx is it's at the forefront. That collar is thick, those cuffs are thick. I like the diagonal striping that makes shapes, which makes shapes for shape's sakes. Yes.
It's actually, according to the infographic, the detail of a maple leaf. So I like the diagonal stripes for diagonal stripe's sake because
I'm squinting.
I'm turning my head sideways here.
I see a sailboat. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think if I let my eyes relax and stand 10 feet behind, you'll see the CN Tower high five and sure, whatever. Like it's got a personality, which is something the last kit did not have. Mm-hmm. And it's got it doesn't look like anything else that came out of this crop of kits or even last year's crop of kits. So it's fresh. It is it's interesting to the eye. I think it'll look great on the pitch. Like from a distance, I think it's going to look good when we're wearing it. It's going to look good when they're wearing it. It's like from an application point of view, I absolutely dig this kit and let the rest of MLS be kind of jelly. So
you gave it an A+. I gave it an A. And the only reason I took the plus away is because I have to have a favorite, and it's not that. It's this. Oh my God.
That's a beautiful kit.
That is so unbelievably beautiful. I can't stand it. I mean, I'm just going to offer up the OG Nike kit. That's the one that inspired the remix. And I imagine that the person wearing it is going to look a little familiar to the TFC faithful, as that is Greg Vanney.
Thanks. Hate it.
As good as the short sleeve is, this is stupendous.
Ooh.
That's stupendous.
That is really nice.
You cannot get it anywhere anymore. I mean, I might be willing to pay European shipping just because I love it so much, and I'm definitely getting Vanny 21 on the back. I may only wear it around my house, but I mean, it's just stupendous. Like that is, as a gunner, I've been blessed because Adidas got the Arsenal. Look at Mark.
That was for you, man. That was absolutely for you.
Because Adidas got the contract back, and they've been subtly remixing all of their old 90s Arsenal stuff. The Bruised Banana got a remix. My favorite kid of all time got a remix. Even Anthem jackets got a remix. This is Adidas bringing that into the North American MLS sphere, and I love it. I mean, the black back is kind of annoying, but that's not really
like that.
Adidas. Well, it's FIFA doesn't want anything to clash with squad numbers now because they've suddenly had an epiphany 100 years into the history of the sport. But it is what it is at this point. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite kit of the entire run. Nothing comes close. I take points off the TFC kit for that collar. And like I said in our article, if you wear a t-shirt underneath a black t-shirt, you've completed the circle and the collar is not so weird, but it's a weird collar. I mean, aesthetically, what is going on there?
Yeah,
now I see it everywhere.
Yeah. Ivan brought up a good point with that TFC kit. He was asking if it's black shorts / red socks there. I actually think it's going to be the opposite. I think we saw red shorts and black socks.
We did, yeah.
Right. So I'm excited to see the red and black come out because I think TFC have been kind of striving towards pushing for that color. And it's actually a little bit of a play on that Unity kit from last year, because
Mhm.
it was the Unity kit had some designs going on within the actual jersey itself. And Bill Manning was on our show, and he said that this kit this year, they took a little bit of risk, but they did it in a tasteful way. And I think that's just the perfect way to sort of describe this kit. It's that they did take some risk, but it looks like it's paying off. And hopefully when the whole thing comes together, it looks even better on the field, because that's what I felt about the Unity kit.
All right,
Speaking
guys,
of
tell us
risks
about
that didn't
teams
pay
that-
off,
That's what I was gonna say.
I think I'll throw it to
Non-risks.
Mark for this. This one sucks, guys.
Yeah. Okay. So like, here's New England Revolution. Now, as we all kind of eye roll at their screaming '90s badge, whatever.
Did they run out
fine.
of color printer?
At this at this point, I'm past making fun of it. It's kind of like
Oh, I'm not.
Montreal Impact as a name. I'm past making fun of it. I've beaten that horse for a long time. Fine. And then they went and changed their logo. Never mind. Back to New England. So here's an idea that I would love to have been in the boardroom or whatever meeting they had.
Couldn't they have ironed that kit out?
I know.
Couldn't they have centered whatever that bar is supposed to be? Couldn't they have, like, is it a window? Is it a calendar? I said calendar. First instinct was calendar on the weekend. The calendars that I'm talking about, where Sunday and the Saturday are grayed out because they want you to highlight on Monday to Friday. Well, that's Sunday, Monday, which I don't know why.
Knowing our luck on this show, it's going to be a charity.
When you find when you find a shirt that you love, but it's in a box in your basement and has been for 25 years, and the fold line has just like become a part of the shirt. That's all I see. And the worst part is like, if you look at the shoulder stripes, okay, that's neat. One's black, one's blue. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yet I cannot see past that front because it's awful.
Yeah,
and I hate it so much.
This weird artistic window paint, like, center it for.
What is it? Like, what? Like, how? What does that have to do with New England? I'm serious. Like, seriously, it's so annoying. It, like, in any kind of sunlight, it's just gonna look like it falls wrong on you. Like, everything about it makes no sense. That one is it's bad. It's just uniformly bad.
Bad.
Yeah. I think we can all agree on
and
that.
then ends bad. But if this wasn't bad enough, I really feel like the highlight is, and unfortunately it's not in this picture, is that the socks are light blue. The shorts are white and the socks are light blue. They are going to look like a team that had their socks stolen whenever they play away. Because it doesn't freaking match. It doesn't match.
I kind of like the light blue and white. I want to see how that works. Maybe that'll pull it all together for me. But I hear you. I hear you.
We'll check back in with you later.
They look like a house league team that didn't spring for next year's socks, so they wore last year's socks. Columbus did a similar thing too, but it's bad, but it's not as bad. I mean,
yeah, no, I hate the Columbus one. The Columbus one is bad. That's awful. But
that's
yeah, I mean, like what Mark said, the ceiling for a white T-shirt on any MLS kit now is B+ in our ratings. It cannot go higher than a B+. You're going to throw out a white shirt and it's not part of your colorway. Forget about it. So let's move on. Let's move on to a white shirt. So this is my least favorite. Now, the more astute of you will recognize the overall design is fairly similar to the Big Red 2019 TFC kit, which anybody that knows, that owns it knows, is about as sheer as silk. So let's make a white one, because sweat plus white fabric doesn't equal see-through in no universe whatsoever. This is absolutely atrocious. This is so lazy. We'll move on from the material, which is going to be bad. The fit and finish of this thing is a 0 out of 10. The color choices, I know, Mark, you said in your blurb that the Rapids have occasionally had that kind of whitish mint in their color palette.
They've never had mint, but they have worn green as a primary. So that's
Okay.
the correlation I was making. But they've nobody who would wear mint deliberately, honestly.
I mean, they say that this is a light mint, but that's white. I don't know about you guys. I mean,
There are other photos, but yeah, it looks. I actually have to when I was looking at this photo, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw press releases that had like it wasn't that stark white, and I think it just depends on the photo. I think what's crazy is that they made it so light that it could look white in a shot, and that's already bad.
I think that was the same issue with the TFC Unity kit last year. When it first came out, everyone was like, this is a white kit, but then we actually saw it, it was gray. So maybe when it's on the field, it'll be closer to like that gray. I think, Mark, you put this in your article, but the one club on the collar, like thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Like, I hope you're one club. Like I didn't realize you had 4 clubs back in one.
Yeah. Tell us, it's so ridiculous. I mean, we all railed on the Clubhouse City supporter that TFC was rocking, and then on the authentic versus the replica kits, they had switched the words around as some kind of weird steerage versus first class thing. That don't, you know what I mean? It was just so weird. But one club is very, very, very strange, and it doesn't. Yeah. It's on the inside of your collar. So the only person that knows this valuable information is you and your dry cleaners. That's it.
They're trying to keep it secret from everyone else. It's so damn bad.
It's so confusing, and I don't know if they were the product of a merger of 2 teams. Sure, you know what? One club, I'll let you have it. Makes sense. However, that is not the case.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know who that was for. Mind you, if I'm sure if you've looked at a lot of the kits or just even needled around on other teams' pages, you'll see slogans all the time, and some of it just feels like generic rah, this should evoke an emotion type stuff, and that's fine. Every club does it, every sport does it. It's fine. But if it could be any blander than just saying one club.
Yeah.
Finish the sentence. What do you do? One club that wins all the time, one club that, carpools to work in the morning. I need context. One club gives me nothing.
One club. One club
sounds like a really bad World Cup anthem. But I think we should probably wrap up this segment here.
Yeah.
I've read their article. They can go on all day about the
right. I'm thinking of ways to wrap it up, and I'll say this. Overwhelmingly, I'm more impressed with this year's crop of kits. There's more variety, at least at knee jerk, because once you start scratching the itch, you start playing where's that template or spot that template, and then it's downhill from there. But overall, really nice. A lot of clubs are taking risks. I would have to say the ratio of boring white shirts for $150 to interesting kits is better this year than it was last year. So, it's all going in the right direction. Mark, would you have anything to add to that? Just as a
honestly, I in addition to the LA kit that you showed, San Jose also did a nod to a better time, shall we say, with their kind of homage to their, I forget, was it 2008, 2009?
It's the one I don't have loaded in here, so you're just going to have to imagine the kit.
Yeah, but the thing is that this is the kind of embracing that I want to see of MLS's history. MLS's history is at the very least hilarious. Some of the names and the colors were hilarious, but I feel like now's a great time for nostalgia. They threatened it with the 25th anniversary kit, and I got none of it. Nothing at all. And now we got 2. Not to say that San Jose's got to go unearth the Clash kits. Look them up. You'll laugh.
Yeah, they're great.
Why not? Why not have a Dallas Burn kit? Like, I'm okay with it now. Enough time has elapsed that it's like, let's do this.
Well, LA did it, and they're my favorite kit of the year. So please.
What I'm saying is, do more of it. There's more. Yep. There's more to be had, and if somebody can dust off Miami Fusion for just sign me up. Just
Colorado Caribous, my friend. Just give me the tassels.
Dare to dream.
I will pay $150 for tassels. Anyway, Marcus, love you, man. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for helping
Thank you,
with the article. 2 years going. Next year will be fun as well. And I'll see you later today when we inevitably chat about this. So.
Sounds good. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mark.
Awesome, Marcus.
On, yeah, and go make sure to go check out that article from the two of them over at Waking the Red. A deep dive into all things kits. But let's move back to the big game at hand. Toronto FC Columbia. We touched on some of the aspects there with Mark about what this game could mean. Let's just go to this. What are your biggest questions going into this game? We'll start with you, Michael.
I think as you guys talked about, what does Josie Altidore look like? How will Toronto FC press against Club Lyon? Because Ollie tweeted out that video yesterday of Club Lyon just breaking a press, and I was like, okay, we're screwed.
Yeah, that was my knee jerk as well. Yeah.
Of course, that's not going to be the reality. Every breakout doesn't look like that from Club Lyon. But that being said, this is going to be a side that's not like any other MLS side. This is going to be a side that play down in Mexico, that play in some of the feistiest matches, the type of style that TFC want to play. The Mexican sides always typically play this high energy, hard tackling style of play that Armas is sort of instilling. So in a way, I'm kind of worried to see how TFC kind of react to that, because Club Lyon's going to sort of be expecting that. Is there a different type of press TFC can throw at Club Lyon instead of having everyone sort of attack the high guy? Do they drop off a little bit, set up kind of a trap, and make them play into that trap? I'm interested to see how that goes. And that's really the biggest question mark, is how does this Toronto FC team look with Chris Armas at the helm? We've never seen what a starting lineup looks like in this team. We don't even know what formation Toronto FC are going to be playing tomorrow against Club Lyon. So for me, that's the biggest exciting thing that I'm looking forward to. What about you, gentlemen?
I will say, to your playing out of the press point, I was talking to someone who watches a lot of Club Lyon about this, and they were saying, they absolutely have that ability in them, but they also try and do it every time, and it's gotten them into a lot of problems this season where they play out of the back when it's unnecessary. So while you might get burned on it a couple times, there is also that opportunity to, when they're way too confident in themselves playing out of the back, you can catch them on a couple of those opportunities. True. So I do think it is something that Toronto FC could end up keying on in this match.
So Lyon or Arsenal, that's fantastic. Really like that.
For Toronto FC's sake, we can hope.
How many goals did Club Lyon score? Did you say, Jeff?
I said they've conceded. They've shipped 17 goals in the last 13 games. For me, as much as I echo your sentiment, Mike, but I think the altitude is the absolute number one factor in this game, and I think it's going to factor into the game plans for both sides. I think Lyon would be moronic if they didn't try to exploit TFC's lack of fitness, especially in the first half, and then hope that they're gassed in the second half and just give away easy breakaways. And I think TFC, I'm going to be very curious about how they game plan this game. Are they going to go for it in the first half and try to get comfy so that when their legs get tired in the second half, they can sort of relax and park the bus? Or are they going to do the complete opposite and try and save it all for the second half, knowing that this game is 2 45-minute halves and they can't go home after halftime? So to me that is the wrinkle that I think is the most interesting.
Yeah.
Let's not forget. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just credit to Chris Armas for, he was open about the fact that TFC are not where they want to be. He said that, I forget his exact words, but essentially their fitness level isn't where they want it to be. And I think everyone just kind of understands that the first game of the season. And there's still a long way for them to go. So temper your expectations a little bit. I know this is a match that TFC want to win. They're going to throw everything at it. But that being said, as if we pointed out, there's a lot of disadvantages to what TFC have going into this game. But Mitch, I think you have something coming with some of the advantages that TFC could have.
Yeah, well, I was going to say on this leg, before we get to that, let's not forget, of course, LAFC went down there last year. to Club Leon and got smoked. It was 2-0, but it could have been way worse, and they were able to dig themselves out of that. I don't think Toronto FC can do that. They don't have a Carlos Vela right now. I don't know at this stage in the season they have the offensive weapons to be able to dig themselves out of a big hole. So that's going to be critical, is not allowing too many goals. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. The fact that no one knows what this Toronto FC side is going to look like, that mystery gives them a little bit of an opportunity here. Club Leon, from everything I've heard about, play a very similar style no matter which opponent they're playing against, and that can be a fault for them. And if it's not going well, they struggle. So Toronto will have plenty of time to adjust their game plan to Club Leon, and there won't be many surprises coming from Club Leon. There could be a ton of surprises coming from Toronto FC. So that in itself, I think, is Toronto FC's biggest advantage going into this game. And as much as there's disadvantages in there in terms of the lack of fitness and the lack of playing time together, wild cards are wild cards, and that could, sometimes wild cards can win you games.
And just circling back to that altitude question, that's something TFC are very aware of. I think Armas has mentioned it, and both Michael Bradley have mentioned it. Like, it's something they're preparing for, but you can't really prepare for it.
Exactly.
6,000 feet above sea level. So, it's an interesting factor for them to take into account. Also, for those wondering, there will be some fans in attendance tomorrow for tomorrow's match for Club Leon. I think there's going to be a 30% capacity at that stadium. So obviously it won't be the same environment, but it does give Leon a little bit of help there if they can have some supporters in front of them. But perhaps maybe that motivates TFC a little bit. But last time TFC, I think, played in front of an away crowd, it didn't go so well. I think that was the Philadelphia Union game, if I'm not mistaken.
It was,
I could be wrong about that, but I think that was the last time TFC played in front of an away crowd. And hey, it's going to be a different kind of environment than what they're accustomed to. So it's another sort of concerning sign, I guess.
Great. Now I have Dupe echoing in my head again. But back to this game. In terms of surprises in the lineup, I mean, Michael, you've touched on it a little bit. We might not see Jonathan Osorio. We're probably not going to see Ayo Akinola. There might be a couple of others, knocks here and there that could surprise us. Are there any players that you think might be surprising, either in the 11 or substitutions, in terms of guys you think we might see?
I think we'll definitely see Patrick Mullins at some point. That's music to Jeff's ears. I don't know if that's much of a surprise, but he's had a great preseason so far.
Yvonne's predicting a golden boot for Patrick Mullins.
I mean, Armas can't say enough good things about Patrick Mullins. He's just saying he's a leader towards some of the young guys. He's saying, and we've talked about this in the past, but he said that Patrick Mullins looks the most relaxed or most, I guess, settled that he's ever felt in his entire career. And Patrick Mullins voiced that to Armas, and it's translated early on onto the field. And that was a great finish, great run, great finish that he had against Columbus that we saw there. He obviously scored again in the USL game that we don't have video of, but so far so good for Patrick Mullins if they need goals. And again, I don't expect him to play the biggest role for Toronto FC this season, but for him to be an option off that bench, I like what he can bring. He can press, he can bring energy, and he's really direct too. So he's just a different type of player they can offer there. We mentioned there will be no Ayo Akinola. If Pozuelo is good to go, then I expect him to play higher up the field in a 4-4-2 almost as a secondary striker, like Sebastian Javinko did in the past for Toronto FC. And Josie Alter and Pozuelo are sort of going to be leading this press that Armas keeps talking about, which is kind of ironic to think about because those aren't the two most mobile players on the field. But by all accounts, though, they've bought in and they're willing and they're doing all of the hard work that needs to be done. So I'm excited to see how that'll work out. In the center of the park, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Noble Okello at some point during this fixture, because he does a lot of the work that Armas needs to do in the midfield. He covers ground super quickly for his size, and he's willing to go into a tackle. And, that's crucial for your heart of the midfield to be tough to play against. And he also has the ability to control the game, spray passes. So maybe Noble Okello is a name that we look out for there in the midfield. Another substitute could be Jordan Perusa. We've talked about him at length in the past, and he scored in TFC's
Mhm.
preseason match. So, I mean, a lot of people are writing about him. So I'm sure you guys can do your research and figure out why people are so high on Jordan Perusa. Yeah, I don't know if there's any more real surprises that I'd tip my hat at right now. I don't know. Do you guys have anyone in mind?
You took all the answers, I think.
Yeah. Who else is left? Ali Curtis is going to lace up his cleats and come on and play a couple minutes.
Oh, another one I'd want to throw out there is I think we might see Eric Zavaleta.
Cool.
He's got the Concacaf experience.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think we might see some Eric Z. So prepare yourselves for that, TFC fans.
I'm prepared.
There you go. Yeah.
You know who else we're going to see? I don't know if he's calling the game or doing analysis or this is, I'm getting good at the segues, guys. But stop telling people how the sausage is made. Let me enjoy one really well done segue without you calling attention to it. KJ's back. KJ's back in one soccer form.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Big win, big dub. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mitch.
It's just going to feel right. I mean, Concacaf Champions League without any of those guys, Wildman, Caldwell, but now we at least have KJ there in some capacity. I mean, it's just going to feel right and I don't know, make us feel a little more comfortable maybe tomorrow when that kickoff happens.
Yeah, we tip our hat to One Soccer for that's a huge get. I think it was almost necessary because TFC and KJ are synonymous at this point. As Mitch said, it kind of wouldn't have felt right if he wasn't there. So thankfully, KJ will be on that broadcast. He makes the broadcast so much better with his level of insight and his ability to analyze the game. So I'm super excited to feel relaxed and like at ease with KJ calling the game.
Yeah, and that other British guy on One Soccer not that great. So we can. I'm talking about Ollie, not Ian Hume. I don't want Ian coming out.
Definitely don't want Ian coming out.
Yeah. One other bit of news and notes from Toronto FC this week coming out of that Canada camp is Richie. Richie, I told you guys, Atiba's just there to scout. I mean, every young player, be it Corbiano, be it Baldissimo, and now Richie Lauria, all linked with a move to Besiktas. This is an interesting one because it kind of makes sense in some ways.
Yeah, Greg Vanny likened Richie Lauria to Alphonso Davies last year, and we kind of saw why in that first match. They played very similar positions, but on opposite wings, and they both had very similar roles. And if you can, set up in a 4 to start, but shift to that 5, as Vanny did it so many times last season, Richie Lauria can thrive, and we're starting to see teams and managers game plan for Richie Lauria being that difference maker in their side. Greg Vanny did it last season. I think John Herman did it during that game. So I'm not surprised to see this European interest. It's something that I've written about a long time. I don't see there's any reason why Richie Lauria shouldn't be attracting European interest. He could be the best right back for Canada right now. I think he probably is. And his like the way his trajectory is the word I was looking for, but it just rose so quickly in the last 2 years, and I can't imagine what this season is going to look like. Alistair Johnson came out and said that he is the best right back in MLS, and he was nominated for MLS Defender of the Year last year. It's just such a good story, Richie Lauria, and I really think that the sky's the limit for him right now because he's just on this upwards trajectory that's like to the moon.
Nobody else is mad at Atiba, like even a little bit. He's like the worst house guest ever. He comes over for one night and raids your cupboards bare. Do you think Besiktas is a logical next step for Richie? I mean, there's the advantage of playing with other Canadians in your domestic side. Can't be undervalued, but in terms of league stature, in terms of competition. I just wonder if maybe that would be not a lateral move, but not necessarily the step up that is deserving of Richie's achievements.
No, I think it's the perfect level just because, it's a top club in a league. Look, I don't think Richie's a Premier League player as good as he is. I don't think he's going into one of those top 4 leagues. So this is a top club in one of those kind of outside top 4 leagues that is at a solid level, and he's going to get European soccer. So I think that's the
Champions League
perfect
soccer.
spot for him.
Yeah.
When the European leagues initially linked, or sorry, the European move was initially leaked, I said Belgium would be a good spot for him. And Turkey's kind of that similar level, maybe not as deep in terms of clubs, but probably higher caliber at the top in terms of Besiktas, Galatasaray, Istanbul. So I think it's a perfect level for him, and I think it's a club he'll go to, and he could go to, and would probably get playing time. That's paramount to anything, because Richie didn't have his resurgence just to sit on the bench again. He needs to play, and for Canada's sake and for his sake, he needs to get playing time. So Besiktas is a club where I could see him playing, and if he goes higher than that, I don't necessarily see him getting that time. He's a little older too, right? Like there's as much as he's developed over the past couple of years, and development's not lateral, like we're probably at least sort of closer to seeing what his ceiling is. So we'll see. I think it's an interesting one.
I think we say that every year though, and then
Yeah,
he just
that's
comes
true.
out and
That's true.
just does something different and impressive.
Yeah.
Like, how often do you see a right back be able to change the game like Richie Lauria does? I don't know if there's any other right back in the league that can do it like Richie, and his ability to drive at defenders 1v1, and whether it's creating his own shot, whether it's creating an opportunity for someone else, he's just so effective at doing it so directly. And another point I kind of want to talk about is I think we should prepare as TFC fans to let some of these guys go. I know, Jeff, you're saying how mad are we at Atiba Hutchinson? I mean, the reality is that these guys want to play at the highest level of soccer, whether that is Europe, whether that is somewhere else. They want to play at the highest level. They have these ambitions because, yes, sure, they grew up in Canada, but these guys want to be global stars. And to get there, they have to play at the highest levels. And unfortunately, right now, that's not Major League Soccer. That's not Toronto FC. But Toronto FC might be the highest club in Major League Soccer, but there's better leagues outside MLS. And I think that we're going to see not just Richie one day, depart overseas, but we're going to see a couple of Toronto FC's players head that direction.
And that's the natural evolution of the club. So, you can't be mad at it. You can't. But my concern is never bet against Richie, so I have no concerns. You know what I mean? It just occurred to me that going to a new environment where it's not your hometown and you're fighting for minutes with the coach again could be another Orlando. So, but then he's got Atiba there, basically is the CEO of Besiktas at this point. So, Mitch, I'm firmly on your side. It's a very safe move. And if you've got somebody with that kind of stature like Atiba fighting for you in the boardroom and in meetings that you won't get invited to, that can only be a plus. So,
and the proof is in the pudding too. Look at the two Canadians that have gone over there; they've just excelled. So why not throw a third Canadian into that mix, right? I'm curious your thoughts about this. Where does Richie Lauria start the game tomorrow?
I think he does start at that right back position, because I think you want the experience of Morrow at left back. I know that leaves Auro out, and that's a bit of a surprise, but. Yeah. Look, I think Richie's going to be wherever he plays on the pitch, whether they move him up a little bit higher, because I think he can play that role at either left or right midfield. I think he's going to be absolutely critical to anything Toronto FC does, because one, again, like I said earlier, I think this is a counter-attacking game for Toronto FC. As much as they want to press and win the ball back, I think how they have success in this game is letting Lyon have a bit more of the ball and attacking them when, pressing smart, right? Like when they see opportunities, press, but don't over press. That's where they're going to get into trouble. And that probably goes for this entire season. But I think specifically this game at altitude and against a very good side who they know can break that press when it happens. But also, Richie's in form. Richie, we saw him with Canada. He's one of the few players who has competitive matches under his belt. He looked amazing. So I think Richie, if you want to look at any key player, and we talked about Josie and Paz and all those guys, Richie's up there in terms of what could be a game breaker for Toronto FC.
Definitely. Agreed. You have to get him on the pitch, whether it is right back, whether it is left back. I personally think his best position right now, actually, let me not say that, but his best fullback position right now, I think, is right back. I still think his best position, call me crazy, but I think his best position could be on the left wing. in Major League Soccer, where he can. I mean, we saw the way he scored that goal from Canada. That was from the left wing. In his only start for TFC last season, he scored a great goal where he cut at left wing. He scored a great goal that he cut inside and finished beautifully. So I still think that, like, I mean, he started off as a central midfielder. I still think that, you know, another position move might not be the worst case for Richie Lauria. His versatility is so special, and I think it's a good problem to have for you know, not even a problem, a good asset to have if you're Chris Armas.
Yeah, 2 minutes ago I was pretty resolute in wanting to keep him on the bench, but Mitch made a good point, which is he's match fit. He's played competitive 90 minutes of soccer in recent memory. So if you don't start him, that's kind of a stupid move. So I definitely turned around on that.
We're all in consensus about Justin Morrow starting at left back, though.
If he's fit, he starts. Yeah.
Over Oro there.
Absolutely.
Because we saw last season that even though both players were fit, it was Oro getting the start or Richie Lauria getting the start at left back versus Justin Morrow. So do we revert back to some of our old ways and give JMO the start there? I love JMO. I love his ability to settle the ball down. His ability to keep possession is second to none in terms of left backs in Toronto FC. So I like that call, especially when you add the experience into it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see one of Oro or Richie Lauria start at left back.
And I will say Oro does have that experience as well. He was there for that that initial Concacaf run. It was the start of his time with Toronto FC, but he was there, so he does have that experience. And the other factor, which could see Richie move forward, of course, is what we already mentioned, the fact that they might have a vacancy in midfield with Jonathan Osorio out. So
Noble Okello time.
Yeah, we'll see what that brings. There's so many things still up in the air in terms of the 11 and all of that. Any last thoughts before I think we'll finish up with some Canadian women's national team thought, but any last things you guys want to get off your chest to just to preview this game?
Well, I just read your rundown that Jonathan David scores against PSG, then is broken, and I liked that turn of phrase. But I guess we'll talk about J. Dave in the future. Everybody's planning to watch some Concacaf this evening, right? A little bit of sneak peek before the main event, an amuse-bouche, as they say. So yeah,
Atlanta United kicks that off, right?
Yeah, yes, they do.
So yeah, that should be a fun watch. I was gonna say, just make sure you guys go to Wake in the Red and check out the preview that Anthony did on our site. I think it's a fantastic preview. It'll get you guys all pumped for tomorrow's game, and it gives a lot of great information, a lot of stuff we didn't mention on today's show. So make sure you guys go give that a read because I think it's really well written. And like I said, it'll get you hyped for tomorrow because we're buzzing here. We're buzzing.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's finish up then with there are some other games this week, which is obviously exciting as well as Canada finishes up their preparation for Olympics in Tokyo. On the women's side, Friday they play against Wales, and then England on April 13th. That's kind of the big game on English side. That's very, very good. But a lot of returning faces. It's exciting. Sinclair's back. Ashley Lawrence is back after being able to figure out the French situation. I guess the camp's based in Europe, so that makes it easier. Aaron McLeod as well. And the player exciting me out of this camp is Chloe Lacazette, who's a player who 27, so a little bit older, but has scored so many goals for Benfica this season in the Portuguese league. And obviously we know Canada needs that. And also, I'm not sure if she's eligible yet, but she's been trying to get her eligibility for Iceland. So Canada could potentially lose her. So good to at least see what they have in the player before that potentially happens. So that's my exciting call up for this camp.
Yeah,
Good
biggest question mark for this Canadian women's national team right now, and it's something Bev Priestman has talked about, is are they going to get goals from someone besides Christine Sinclair? And if so, who will that be? Is it going to be Nichelle Prince, who looked really good at the She Believes Cup, but didn't really have that final end product? Is Evelyn Vians going to, step up and finally, live up to her reputation there? Because she's been prolific at the club level, but can that translate now onto the international stage? Or is it maybe Janine Becky, who had, a bunch of opportunities, but, couldn't finish there at the end? Regardless, I mean, this team isn't going to have Christine Sinclair forever. And their biggest question mark right now is who else is going to put the ball in the back of the net for them. Obviously, having the likes of Ashley Lawrence in the side is going to help tremendously. She creates so much. She was the 2019 Canadian Player of the Year. And I think at center back, they have a lot of depth that they showed in the She Believes Cup. And even though Kadisha Buchanan won't be at these two friendly matches, they have a lot of people who can step in and fulfill those roles. So their biggest question marks for me are at striker and at central midfield. But it's a good test for the club heading into what will be an important Olympics.
Biggest question for me is there actually going to be an Olympics? I mean, we still sort of don't know. As much as I love all this qualification, it's going to be damn funny if it's all for naught. They're already qualified, so this is just friendlies. I just want to make that clear, is that they definitely did already book their ticket, but these are just sort of to keep them in shape and trying to give them a measuring stick heading into those Olympics that will hopefully go down later in August.
And I think you mentioned it, but the striker position, I mean, it seems like they have more options than they have in recent years, between Lacazette brought in now, Evelyn Viens, Becky Heidema. With that being said, they got to figure out those options super quick. They don't have much time to figure out who their go-to players are. So this camp's going to be critical for that. And Bab's got a lot on her plate going into this camp. So it'll be fun to see how they fare in those two matches. Let's wrap up there.
First game is on Friday against Wales, just so everyone knows. And then, as Mitch said, the following Tuesday, I think, is when they play England. So get those marked on your schedule. I know we're looking forward to some Champions League action, but you got some great Canadian women's national team games to look forward to as well.
Long may it rain.
Thanks to Mark Hinkley, Vocal Minority, for joining us this week. That was awesome. Huge shout to Kevin and Sophia always for the work in the background. Give us some love on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It always helps us out and helps us to get bigger and better. And on behalf of Michael and Jeffrey, enjoy some Concacaf Champions League action, and we'll be back to break it down for you next week.